Welcome to the Obstacle Dominator podcast. Explore what it takes to dominate any obstacle you may encounter in life and get a glimpse inside the minds of the most interesting people on the planet. Now, here's your host, Beni Gifford.
What song is that?
It's called St. Elmo, I think.
No, I think that's just Hunter's custom tune for I'm excited talking to my friends. It's morning time.
Dude, I cannot stop waking up at 4 a.m. It sucks.
Because of the hiking?
Yeah, because I was living on the East Coast for almost 3 weeks. And
are you going to bed early enough?
mostly between like 8 and 10. 10 would be super late.
Yeah.
8 and
So I just like wake up and throw shit out of my house all day long and like try to clean.
Dudes, I just washed my sleeping bag and it still reeks. I'm so terrible.
I'm washing mine right now.
I don't have a side loaded one, and with mine you have to.
Oh, dude, the top load doesn't work.
Yes, and I read that you're not that you can't do it, so I had to like hand wash mine in the tub. Have you ever gotten a sleeping bag soaking wet and then tried to hold it? You could do a workout with that thing and would just kick your ass.
I have not tried to do that.
Beni, that's because you're a skinny bitch.
That is because I'm a skinny bitch. But guess what? I went to the gym yesterday and I was like, all right, it's time to get out of off-season training. And I was able to bust out 26 pull-ups unbroken. And I'm like, I've still got it. I'm fine. I'm good. I'll get this back real quick.
I got to do that silly challenge.
Listen, I've stated this rule and I'll state it again. It's not hard to climb a tree if you weigh as much as a squirrel. It's not impressive to be able to do pull-ups when you're your size.
You know, it's also really easy to make excuses when you're a fat ass and you can't do as many pull-ups as your squirrely friend. So,
dude, I could fucking smoke you in a pull-up workout because I'm not a bitch and I don't do Yancey regrip workouts like you. You're like, oh yeah, I did like 1,000 pull-ups. But I was like flapping my hips and like twisting my wrists around. And I was like flapping around like a fairy, and you should have seen me.
The 26 were unbroken, just strict form pull-ups. But you remember what's your challenge, your grip board challenge that you have in your gym?
Oh, that's 17 pull-ups.
But yeah, I'll smash you on that anytime.
I don't think so. But like, listen, I'm not really interested in how many strict pull-ups you can do because strict pull-ups almost don't translate into anything.
That's not true.
I think it's
They don't. They translate into some, but not a lot.
No,
Well, Watson, you want to come be on video? Hi! Oh God! What did I do?
Watson, come say hi. Introduce. Well, while you're getting Watson, this is Coda.
Hi, Coda.
He's a big majestic wolf.
Wow, that's a great video you got there, Hunter.
Well, I mean, it's better than our little room setups, I guess.
I don't know if you guys realize, but I live in Malibu, so I set my chair up outside and I just look at the pretty view while you guys are in your trailer parks.
My house is very nice, Hunter. You take that back. My floor is heated.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting. I don't need a heated floor because I live in Malibu.
Hunter.
Yeah, you also don't get seasons. And the 2 seasons you have in California is on fire and then not on fire.
No, dude, we have seasons. Like the leaves are off the trees right now. And,
Wow. Is that why everything in the back is super green?
Well, it just rained. This is rainy season too, so it gets explosively green. But it gets cold enough where the leaves fall off the trees. Like, dude, you even saw when we were hiking on the Appalachian Trail, there was tons of trees with green leaves still on them. Just certain trees last in certain temperatures.
This is the non-fire season.
We just made it past fire season. I mean, like, dude, my whole yard was filled up with smoke for like a couple of weeks because the fires were getting close, but it didn't get me.
Wow, you're really selling this, Hunter. I mean, I remember a few years ago when you were out there with like your overalls and your whitey-tighty t-shirt fighting fires at 2 a.m.
Yeah, because I'm a fucking beast. Meanwhile, you're shoveling snow like a punk-ass bitch.
Best workout there is, shoveling snow and cutting wood.
Ian, have you guys ever seen that video? It's if anybody hasn't seen this, just search "man falls for 9 seconds while snow shoveling." There's some dude filming his apartment like roommate out, and he starts falling, and for like 9 seconds he's almost saving it, and then he finally just like rage throws the shovel and walks off. It's really funny.
I think that just came out. I have not seen it yet.
No,
but we don't have a ton of ice. It's just a fuckload of snow.
Yeah, Hunter, before we start talking about the trip, why don't you just pivot your camera around real quick and then put it back, because I know that's a great view you're looking at.
So there's my barbecue, some BCAAs in my water cup. You can see Catalina in the background. That right there is like a honeysuckle cactus plant, where all the bees hang out. And then there's my slack line and my palm tree and all the mountains. That's LA down there, Mount Baldy. Did a 2-hour
lizard statue thing right there, right?
Oh, you're talking about the cats?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your pea gnome?
Dude, the pea gnome's over there. Because I did CrossFit last year and I was so muscular, my abdomen pressure was so strong that the pea would actually start to break chunks off the pea troll.
Is that bro science or is that a thing?
I think it's a thing. No, I think it's a thing, dude. Honestly, dude, the amount of torque that comes out of my penis when I pee is unreal. Like, I've just got this girthy stream, and I could peel the lacquer off of a toilet.
Do you that's inappropriate. Never mind. I won't ask that. But we should do a video series where we just take typical fitness pitches, but then make it all about completely wrong reasons. Like, do you want 6-pack abs? Or no, we'll reverse that. Do you want to be able to pee a piece off a garden gnome? Get 6-pack abs.
Do you want a girthy stream? Do you want more torque in your hose? Do crunches. Pee hard as fuck.
I would love to do this. All right, yeah. So we're all chatting.
Are we actually recording?
Yeah, he's been recording. I saw the little dot.
Yeah.
Hi, crazy.
For sure. So,
Watson, don't do that.
By the way, I have like 50 gigabytes of recorded episodes on my computer from the past like 3 years of Obstacle Dominator episodes. And Hunter, you remember those like 2 minutes before we would hit record where the guest was always saying all the things they never wanted on air?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just the raunchiest things ever. And I still have all the files, and I've been meaning to message each one of these people, send them the clip I want to use and be like, are we okay to use this? And then mix together just one super raunchy, like open the kimono episode. I get the feeling almost every single person is going to say no, though.
I probably would say no. It's usually about like specific people.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Is that Winston whistling? What's happening over there?
No, it's me. I'm still singing that song in my head.
Don't do that, because you hit a certain frequency that started a feedback loop, and luckily it died off.
When you have the kind of torque that can pee bones off of a pea troll, you also have the kind of torque when you whistle that you create feedback loops that crush the entire world's ears.
Little Superman wind
action. Watson. Hey, don't do that.
That's your
you know what my favorite thing is? You can tell when somebody is a bitch to their dog when they have to constantly remind it what not to do, and the dog never changes its patterns. So that's how I know that your balls have been taken away. Does he hump you? Does he hump you on a regular basis and you can't do anything about it?
No, he doesn't hump me. What he has is Stacy's camping pillow. She hugs at night to keep her shoulders in place, and he finds the fucking thing and runs around the house with it. He doesn't chew it, but sometimes he whacks it around. He goes, "Wah! Wah! Wah!"
Dude, I love the way dogs live. My brother's dog does that. She'll grab shoes and she will not chew them. She'll just run around the house with them and like look at you while she's holding them in her mouth.
Yeah. And so when he gets too aggressive with it, I have to tell him to stop, and he does. Hey.
And then he starts.
He stops right away. I mean, he put it down and left it. Now he's leaving the room.
All right. So guys, let's just recap the Appalachian Trail. Real conversation.
Oh my God.
Not quite the way that you were doing it to Matt B. Davis at dinner, where I was like, Ian, are you really doing a step-by-step of the
step-by-step?
Like, I can't do this right now. Don't do this. So,
can I bring something up real quick?
Yeah.
Listen, I know you and Matt B. Davis don't like each other, and I also know that the guys from Bro CR don't like Matt B. Davis, and there's other people who don't like each other in this sport. I still think we should do a celebrity death match. Like, I'll arrange it. I'll get us the location, and we'll have celebrity fights where people get to fight each other. So, like, you fight Mappy Davis. I'll fight.
Beni would wreck him.
That's perfect. Or maybe how about Mappy Davis? We'll do like 2v2. We'll do like you versus Mappy Davis and like Kevin Galati and
Versus the world.
No. Who else doesn't like those guys? Maybe we'll take we'll take one of the Bro CR guys, put them on your team, because supposedly I think the Bro CR guys have had a breakup too. Maybe we can have those two fight each other.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
So that's what I'm trying to say, dude. There's so much drama going on in the world, and like I don't really have drama with anybody, but I'll tie both my arms behind my back and I'll fight Kent and Megiddo at the same time.
Dude,
and
I would not make that statement on the air because you know someone's going to call you out on it, and I don't.
No,
care
Hunter actually would do that, and then he'd do a flying dragon kick into their chest. He'd
Dude,
like get
after what
full
he did-
speed running.
After what he did at that last campsite when he just launched himself up onto that tree, remember that? I would actually.
Yeah,
love
he
to
just
see that.
hopped up like a fucking spider monkey.
That was.
I don't have a doubt in my mind that I could literally beat the teeth so hard out of their mouth they would shoot straight out their butthole.
I don't know, man. They got those fit abs. They could probably just crunch and send them right back up their mouth.
Well, that's cute.
Maybe they'd come out the lower end and torque it back at you like a bullet. Pew, pew.
So, Hunter, finish your statement.
Well, I just think, listen, if you guys want to do it, here's what I'll do. I'll start like some kind of voting platform. And if we can get enough people to agree to it, there's got to be an OCR that has like a big, like, let's say it's got to either be in California or New York or like Utah or Colorado. Maybe at the Utah one, I can host a boxing match at the Utah Spartan race in June. And I'll get a venue. And like, let's say we'll sell the tickets for like 20 to 40 bucks on Saturday night, and everybody gets to fight. I just think it'd be so much fun. I bet you we could sell hundreds of tickets, if not like over 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
And we just,
I'm down.
I'm down. I mean, dude,
but you,
in case
I
you
don't,
guys
I
have
don't
not
know who
noticed-
I hate enough to do this, though.
there's got to be somebody that you don't like.
And
What
it's
about you? How about you fight David Watson?
I have no problem with David Watson.
I'll beat the shit out of David Watson. I hate
Okay, you can.
I think-
I honestly,
think he's
I
a
have no problem with him.
idiot.
I think he's great.
Yeah, that's because he gives you money.
I can be bought, Hunter. If people give me money, I have no problem with them.
You're like a child who goes to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and imagine if, like, you know, Willy Wonka was kind of abusive and had a South African accent. You're like, he's giving me candy, though.
No, that's not the case.
That's the whole Spartan Pro team. You guys are so naive, and you fucking just do whatever. Anybody who gives you PC, like, okay.
If you don't remember, Hunter, I'm like one of the. Every time Spartan has done something that has been not kosher in my book, I've called them on it. I've gotten big trouble. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I cost Spartan $70,000
For what?
because they weren't paying us money.
Oh, because they didn't pay anybody out for the point series that they promised?
Yeah,
Wait.
Good for you.
You're talking about from 2019's point series?
no,
Okay, because I still haven't been paid for that either. But Hunter,
yeah, they owe me money too.
with TM going down, did you ever get paid for TMX?
Yeah, of course I did. Of course I did.
Okay. all right.
My dad is such an asshole in the nicest way. Like, he would just send them emails every single day. I was like, Dad, honestly, like, they'll pay me. He's like, no. And he started to send them emails. He would just say, I'm going to sit in your lobby and I'm going to sit here until you pay my son. And it was so funny. I mean, I absolutely love my dad. He's been my biggest supporter ever since I got this thing started. And it's like, you know, my dad runs a business, so he's got shit to do. But I think for him, he's just a man of ethics. And he's just like, if you don't deliver on the day that you say you're going to deliver, he's like, that's when the loan shark comes out.
Yeah, hold up, Hunter. You're being upstaged.
We're coming to get the pillow. Give me the pillow.
Hunter, no, Ian, you know what you need? The perfect Sherlock to your Watson is a fucking Jack Russell Terrier.
Give me the pillow. We might get a min pin.
Is the CEO of Tough Mudder just recently was that guy Kyle?
Yeah.
And I read a post that he made on the Tough Mudder, like this like Tough Mudder page on Facebook, and it was such a thoughtful and kind letter. And he's always been such a nice guy. It just breaks my heart that the industry can be. I mean, as I understand it, Will Dean is doing some pretty sketchy stuff just to prove a point and let the business
Will
get.
Dean?
You don't know who Will Dean is?
Are you
No,
serious?
dude. I don't. I'm out of it.
No,
Will Dean is the founder of Tough Mudder.
Oh, okay. That guy? Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, and he allowed the business to get tanked just because I don't think he wants to allow Spartan Race to have their hands on it.
Huh.
So it's actually going down? I mean,
Yeah.
I know they're going out of business, but I thought Spartan would be able to take over operations and like continue the races and stuff.
I don't think Will Dean's going to allow it. Listen. I don't have all of the facts. I've just taken things through conversations, and I'm not the kind of person who likes to take my day and waste it on drama that I'm not involved in. But it's heartbreaking because I think Tough Mudder was probably the biggest name in the sport for a long time and really supported like our entire industry moving in the right direction. And Spartan Race was the one who turned it into a sport. And then Tough Mudder follows suit after 5 to 7 years of business, and they started to get competitive, and it changed my career for an incredibly positive direction.
Yeah.
And now it's going under.
Yeah, man, a lot of fun memories. The only Tough Mudder I ever did was TMX's. Yeah, like you said, if it wasn't for Spartan, Warrior Dash, and Tough Mudder, this industry probably wouldn't have existed. So maybe this is a move. I mean, TM was like the last one that was just focused on the masses and not making it a sport. So, it's all up to Spartan to do whatever they want with us as athletes now. And, I hope they keep things good and going in the right direction the way I have.
Yeah, I don't know. It's monopolies are always dangerous in industries.
Savage is still hanging on pretty solidly, just doing the
Yeah,
same
but
thing he's been doing.
It's not the same level. Like Spartan easily has a monopoly on the U.S. market. Globally, they're not there, which is nice, but they're expanding.
Yeah.
And I think the current leadership in Spartan hopefully will still continue and listen to the athletes and try and make it a better sport. That's the dream for everyone.
Well, this year will be very telling. I think we'll see huge changes. The best time to initiate massive changes in the way something's run is like during a regime switch, which is what's happening here. So I think this year will be pretty telling as to the direction of the sport and Spartan's character. I'm pretty positive about it because it's not like Spartan, even in their own interest, it's not like they want to run their business into the ground. So
No.
I think it's just.
I don't think that's true at all.
What?
Look at DecaFit. DecaFit was entirely created.
We're getting sidetracked, boys.
What are we going to talk about? The Appalachian Trail? That's going to take like 15 minutes.
Dude, there's so
Are you
much
kidding me,
content
Hunter?
in there.
Okay, let Hunter
Listen,
speak
I'm just-
on DecaFit.
Go ahead.
This is just an OCR podcast, and there's a lot of crazy things going on OCR right now. And honestly, I don't even like talking about OCR because I think it's stupid. Like, we're way cooler people than just sitting down and talking only about mud runs. Like, we've got bigger brains than that, and we've got a lot more going on in our lives than just freaking showing up to mud runs and running a 10K and jumping over fences.
Did you just compliment me, Hunter, and Beni at the same time?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, listen.
Also, that's what Ian just said. We're like, let's stop talking about OCR. Like, this isn't just
Well,
an
dude,
OCR podcast.
honestly, though, this is such a huge shift. You can't say, like, there's two titans in the sport, which is Tough Mudder and Spartan Race, and one of them's going to collapse. And if, like, you don't address that, that's kind of, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe we don't need to talk about mud runs anymore, but
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I know that we ended 2019 on a high note and started 2020, well, for me, on a little bit of a crazy note. But anyways, I wanted to talk about how much fun we just had.
Yeah, can we go into your, like, you almost dying? Because I haven't heard about it very much.
Oh, well, that just for anybody who doesn't know, I was driving back from the Appalachian Trail, and I was in Meridian, Mississippi, and was just on the highway. There was a storm. I've hydroplaned before. You usually slip around for a second, you gain traction, you go back to driving. Well, this time, it just didn't happen. By the time I'd stopped hydroplaning, I was completely perpendicular to the flow of traffic. And so when my tires got grip again, I kind of just shot straight off of the highway and then hit mud. And so then I was sliding sideways at about 70 miles per hour along this like ramp ditch thing. And there are, I can't remember exactly what happened because, you know, obviously you're flying around and your vision is swayed and stuff. The truck, the tow guy and the cop and some other people were saying based off the damage that they think I didn't roll, that I flipped end over end based off of the front.
You went forward?
That's what they're saying off of the damage, because my side, on my left side, it doesn't have damage and my roof doesn't have damage, but both my front and back have damage. And then one side is totally obliterated. So one side is where I slammed into trees that stopped me before going to a river. And the front and rear damage, I guess, or at some point I did end over end, which would make sense as to why when everything stopped, my glasses were in the back seat. But somehow came out of it with not even a scratch.
That is absurd.
This is a huge prop to Subaru. Like, I hadn't even stopped sliding and slamming through trees before I heard through the speakers, Subaru Starlink is connecting you to emergency services. And so like maybe a couple seconds after I stopped moving, there was a lady on the speaker and she was all chill and calm. I was not calm. I was all I was like, yeah, 2020. It's like the first thing I shouted to her. And for the first like 2 hours after the accident, I was like, yeah, let's go. And then everything like calmed down. I was like, oh, okay, that was super not cool at all, actually.
Adrenaline's a hell of a drug, dude.
Yeah, man. It was, and it was so, I don't know if it was so subtle or it was so overwhelming that I didn't notice the feeling. Like, you know, when you drop something like your phone, you get that little spike of adrenaline right before you like try and catch it or something. You can feel the heat in your skin. I didn't feel anything like that. So I don't know if that means it was coursing so strongly through my whole body that I couldn't tell I was feeling it, but I know it took me like 3 hours before everything started hitting of holy crap. Also, it didn't help. Well, no, it helped me along that direction that the truck guy was like, I was kind of dicking around behind the car when he pulled up and his jaw dropped when he saw me. And when I was driving to the dump afterwards with him, he was like, yeah, no, I 100% thought you were dead. So this is a guy who tows vehicles and he lives in the middle of nowhere, which means he's only used for like highway accidents and stuff. And so he just sees stuff like this all the time. And he said that he had just come, I was the second one that morning, and the two people had died in the accident that morning. They had just been hit by a deer and their car didn't look nearly as bad as mine. So he was like, I was 100% sure you were dead.
Dude, your wheels from your pictures, it looks like your wheels sheared off your axles.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's like some like Superman grabbed the axle and just bent it and folded the tires underneath my car.
That's ridiculous.
That was nuts. But again, props to Subaru. The side airbags came out. I know I slammed my head a couple times because I've got some whiplash in my neck, but slammed right into the airbags, and I feel great. Like, I'm going to the chiropractor today just to make sure there's no internal tweaks that I'm not aware of. But like yesterday, I did an easy cycle session. I did some pull-ups, and I feel good. But it's just freaking crazy, dude.
All about those pull-ups.
The non-translatable pull-ups.
They translate. They just aren't as important as everyone makes them out to be.
Yeah, I know. There's like a certain level where you don't need
like I don't think you need to be able to do more than 20 strict pull-ups.
Yeah, for sure. At this point, it's just for fun. Like, I don't even anymore when I'm thinking about strength training, I'm not thinking about the gains I'll have in an obstacle race. I'm thinking about like dicking around, Hunter's like, I bet you can't lift that log. It's for stuff like that.
Have you passed Hunter's log challenge?
Which one is the log one again? I did most of them.
There's a log that's like around 250 pounds. You just have to get up like to your chest. And then there's the Atlas stone that's 215 pounds. And you have to pick up one of the two just to get like a yellow belt at my house.
I know
You have to get it to your shoulders. Or like, I guess above your chest, that's right.
I know I did the Atlas ball one. I can't remember the log.
The log's easier than the Atlas.
I can't remember. What's the big ball you have to like overhead squat or something? Is that it?
Oh, that's the brown belt. That's the 150-pound thruster.
I don't
That
think
one's-
I got that.
No. I think I only know 2 people have done that at the house.
Yeah.
That's hard. Has
That was
Kempson
not
done
me.
that?
No, Kempson can't do that. He's a little bitch. My buddy Martins, who won World's Strongest Man this year, did it. And
Well, yeah, I've seen that guy. That guy's ridiculous.
yeah, he didn't even have a challenge. He's probably the most athletically like well-rounded person I've ever had up at this house. Still to this day, I always mention this story. I have these pull-up blocks that are like almost like metal frames of 2x4s, and you have to grip around the blocks. You can't like wrap your thumb. You just grip it and like pinch the bottom and pinch the top with your fingers.
Yeah.
And like most really, really talented, strong people can get like 3 to 5. Some people get 7. My number's around 10. Like, and that's like my go-to. And I train a fair amount. Like Mac couldn't even get 2. And then Martins at 345 pounds got on and just started ripping pull-ups. Like he just was like exploding off the ground. I was like, what the fuck?
Holy crap.
That's impressive for that guy, that big of a dude.
Yeah, he's a monster. The belt system goes, yellow belts is the stone or the log. Orange belt is taking Big Blue, which is a sandbag, and running around our courtyard in under 30 seconds.
I got that one.
The green belt is doing 15 pull-ups with a 50-pound weight strapped to your waist, and only like 2 to 3 people have gotten that. Then the green belt notch is to do the fingerboard challenge.
How many pull-ups?
15.
With 45s? 50?
50.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then it goes the brown belt, which is the thruster with the ball. And then I haven't come up with purple, blue, or black. Because
You know what your black belt should be is if somebody can get there and they can overhead squat you.
no, that's too easy. Because there's a lot of people who can do that.
Okay.
There's a lot of fucking freaks. I don't know. I got to figure out what the hell it's going to be. I think it might be like taking your own body weight and having to get to the top of the hill, dragging a sled in under a minute. And that would be, honestly, it would probably sever, like it would split all the muscles in your quads in half.
Yeah. What do you have any? You don't have any running or like conditioning belt?
No, because it's just, I mean, I guess maybe I could make the purple belt hitting 2,000 on the assault bike, because that's hard to get.
Watts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I made 17 when I was with you. Or 18.
That'd be pretty fun. But that's such a weight-based thing. It's like if you're a big guy, you can get there.
Yeah.
Hunter, why don't you give us the premise real quick for this Appalachian Trail thing? Because I know that when I was touring the eastern half of the country's national parks and spending a lot of time on the Appalachian Trail, you called me one day and you were like, dude, where the fuck are you? That place is amazing. And I was talking about moving up in Nashville, and that's when we kind of started talking about doing something like this in the winter-ish time. And then you had the inspiration to go through your list of people that you like and invite a few more people. So why don't you run through that?
Yeah, 2 weeks before the fucking thing.
Well, I had just reached a point in my life where, this whole last year I did a lot of things which were very challenging and kind of like out of my comfort zone, which was good. Like, you should never be somebody who tries to get away from that stuff, but not everything in life needs to be about resistance. Like, resistance all the time doesn't necessarily build strength. It can just kind of overpower you and kind of actually make you weaker. So I had reached this point where I was like, I spent so much time doing things that were challenging. Like, I needed something that was, even though this was going to be a challenging adventure, it somehow would come back through the infinity loop and re-energize me, which it has. And I just said to myself, I was like, listen, it's New Year's coming up every single time. Like 10 years earlier, I did like a little post about it. 10 years earlier, I was in Miami at a big party wearing like a Dolce & Gabbana suit, getting shit-faced on every kind of drug you can imagine and every kind of booze. And like that was so important to me at the time because I could tell people I was in Miami wearing a fancy suit, doing things like that. And then for the next 10 years, I kind of did the same exact thing. And it's like, I was just talking to my buddy this morning, Jesse. I was explaining it to him. He and I have known each other for 12 years now. And there's only probably about a half dozen times that when we've gotten really, you know, fucked up and done really crazy things that I can actually remember the story of what happened and was like, wow, what a night. Yet we've probably been drunk together over 1,000 times.
Wow.
And
Holy shit.
yeah, because we've known each other that many years, dude. It only takes, you know, maybe 100 nights a year, which I've definitely been there. Honestly, like I just said to him, I was like, dude, but of the 10 maybe adventures we had, like the half dozen adventures we had around the world doing crazy things, like we biked all the way across Tuscany. We ran to the top of this mountain in Rome one time, outside of Rome one time. We biked all the way across from Massachusetts all the way to the bottom of Connecticut in 2 days with just maps before they GPS. Like we did stuff, and I can remember every single detail of those stories. And as I talk about them, like I can feel those stories in my body, and like I can put myself in that place. So I just said to myself, I was like, what the fuck is the point of getting drunk and counting down backwards again? Because it doesn't matter. It's just another day. But you need to make this day actually of significance rather than just drinking to supposedly add significance to it, which is retarded. It's like going out to a bar and having to get drunk just to have a conversation with a stranger. So I decided, I was like, I'm just going to call a bunch of rowdy, rough people, and I'm going to see if I can put together a crazy adventure. It doesn't have to be well planned out. It just needs to happen. So I made the call. I called Tanner first, and I said, listen, because we got invited to Miami, and I was like, dude, that's what we did 10 years ago. Let's do something different. I was like, do you want to hike the Appalachian Trail? He said, yes. Then I called you, Beni. And then from there, you and I were like, well, let's try to call Kirk. Let's try to call Ian. Kempson was out of it. We were just talking about people who are macho and probably would bring something to the table. And then we called Ian. Ian was like, all right, let me put together some things. Then I called, I was walking out of Gold's Gym in the morning after I just talked to you guys, and I bumped into Esme. And Esme is a friend of mine that did the Tough Mudder Boot Camp project with me. She always gives me shit because she always sees my videos, and she's like, what's your problem? Why do you never invite me on these things? And I was like, honestly, it's not that I don't invite you. I just don't think that most girls don't want to do this kind of stuff. She's like, I do want to do it. So I was like, okay, 2 weeks from now, we are going to start an Appalachian Trail at the bottom of Georgia, and we are going to hike to the top of the Georgia state line. I was like, say yes or no right now. And she goes, yes. And I was like, fudge. Not that I didn't want her to be there. I was just like, she did it. She took the jump. So I was like, all right, she's on. So every single time I added another person, it gave another dynamic of the situation that I had to make sure was going to be able to fit into the puzzle. And then last person who jumped on board was, I was in New York City. I was seeing my family for Christmas, and I bumped into my buddy Taylor, and he and I both started in Soul Cycle 5-6 years ago, and he'd worked himself up from the front desk guy when I was the instructor at Malibu all the way up to one of the top trainers in New York City. And he had just left Soul Cycle after working there for years and teaching, you know, probably 20 classes a week for 4 years straight. So that's just an enormous amount of work. And he was just kind of like, man, I just kind of like don't know what to do. And it's not like he was lost. He was just like, I'm just kind of like thinking a lot. And I was like, well, let's think about it on the trail. I was like, I'm going to go hike the Appalachian Trail in a couple days. And he had not even a week to make this decision. I was like, you should come and we'll figure it out as we're hiking. And then he jumped on. So, you know, this is our dirty dozen, or at least our dirty half dozen. Basically, we showed up in Atlanta with probably 20% of the equipment that was necessary to get this done, but with 100,000% of the energy that was necessary to get it done. And we started. And against the odds of rain and cold and half the food that we needed and kind of overestimating the distance that we could cover and not knowing who the heck was going to pick us up at the back of the trail.
Only you, Hunter.
No.
Listen,
no.
I don't think I think I can honestly say that. Listen, I know you guys. I by the end of the trip or midway through the trip, I was like, you know what? I was waking up before everybody. I wake up at the same time as everybody, and I'd have my bag packed like within 5 minutes. It took you guys like 30, 45 minutes every single time. And, you know, it would make the hair on the back of my head, you know, stand up. And I was like, motherfuckers. You know, I could have covered more distance, but you know, this stupid quote that Esme kept on saying, she's like, you could go far alone, or you can, you know.
No, it's opposite. That's the point of how ironic that she kept saying it. The quote is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we were like, actually, the reason we're going less distance is because there's so many of us. Because if it was just Hunter, Ian, and me, we would have gone the full 80 miles.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think adding those extra 35 miles, 30 miles to the trip would have done anything different. It would not have added to the experience.
Yeah.
So eventually,
Hunter, why does it sound like you get that now, but every single morning, even though we would say that to you, you were still like, come on, motherfuckers. We were like, dude, Hunter, we already talked about this.
On day
listen,
three,
I'll fully explain myself.
He understood that on day 3.
But listen, I have my ways of handling things, and I'm learning as I get older. And you've known me for years, Beni. You've lived with me. There's a pace that I go at, and it allows me to fit it into my schedule, into my mindset. And if I do it like that, I can literally get anything done. Any race, any business trip, any adventure, any challenge. If I do it a certain way, just because of the way that I built myself, it works. So I just do it.
So you don't so much have this ability yet to snap your fingers and turn that off yet. That makes sense. If that's how you
No, I can acknowledge it now, but it's not necessarily like I turn it off. And listen,
that makes sense. If you live like that every single day, dude, I actually was thinking about this while I was making my bagels this morning. I felt this rush, and I was like, it's because Hunter's involved in something in the morning. Because when I lived with you every single morning, Hunter doesn't like to eat before he goes to work out, and him and I both work out first thing in the morning. The difference is I like to eat and chill before I go work out. Hunter's like, I'm in the car in 30 seconds. So I got really good at making coffee and bagels at the same time and somehow ingesting them both in the same time that it takes for Hunter to get to the car. And I started feeling this stress in my stomach this morning in my own home. Hunter's thousands of miles away. And I was like, calm the fuck down, okay? He's not here.
See, that's the power of a good friend. So, listen, I also will tell you, when I was in that rehab program, we were in the freezing cold, and basically we knew that as soon as we woke up in the morning and they blew the whistle for us to come in, you could get to the fire before anybody else and get the day started. So I perfected the technique of being able to have everything, including my tarp, inside of my bag, like my home that was built, my sleeping bag, everything inside my bag with my clothes on in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, it just kind of got right back into that rhythm. I was like, all right, Hunter, sleeping bag stuffed in, pants on, shoes on, put your food in the bag, ready. And meanwhile, you guys are over there like, geez, Jiminy Cricket, I can't even talk about it.
For those of you who know backpacking or like do outdoor stuff, Hunter literally takes all of his 5 items he has and just aggressively shoves them into his bag. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. If he ever needs something out of his pack, he has to stop, completely rip it open. But it's a two-handed endeavor, just fisting things into his bag.
It's like beating the shit out of his bag.
Into the dark depths. And then he's done. He's like, guys, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go. It's breakfast time. And then he just kind of sits off in the corner and doesn't help a single other person do anything.
Because if you just sit there and stuff
in our life.
Listen, if you were my kid, I'd tie your shoes for you. But since you're not my kid and you're just an idiot friend of mine,
I was the second person ready every time. And you know what? I was still making everyone's water in the morning because people were like, oh, I need my coffee. It's like,
that's like saying you took second place in the Spartan race 15 minutes behind the guy who was in first. It's not a bragging right.
You guys want to know something?
Yeah, because the first person cut the entire course.
Cut no course. I covered the same distance every single day, just in a more efficient fashion.
I don't know what place I was in every morning, because guess what? That wasn't the fucking point of this trip. It was enjoyment and having a good time. And by the way, I took my time this morning, and who was the dude who was munching on amazing PB&Js that he's making as he's walking the whole time? Didn't have to stop because I arranged them all in.
Let's talk about Beni's MREs because this was a great point of the trip. Everyone on the trip has these like nice freeze-dried meals, dehydrated. All you do is add water, very lightweight. Beni shows up with military rations from when, Beni? 1990?
About 20 years ago, yeah.
Disgusting.
A different century, actually.
And the first day, he feeds one to Hunter, and Hunter almost immediately throws up. And then Hunter had opened the packet, gives it back to Beni in the box, and Beni puts in his backpack where it proceeds to leak for the next 8 hours.
I assumed Hunter had given it back to me in a way that was like packable because he put it back in the box. I assumed he was thoughtful.
Beni, had you not seen how Hunter packs his backpack? He did the exact same thing with his MRE, just shoved it back in there.
That was lunch the first day. I hadn't seen this guy yet in the morning.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
I did immediately throw those away, though. Those were disgusting.
But Beni, the entire trip, was out there just tromping along these little brown bags that he would repeatedly tell you, hey, Ian, did you know these bags are eco-friendly and they decompose?
Yeah, you suckers having to work your sack or carry your trash in and out. I'm just like, here you go, Mother Nature.
You actually carried them out, so you can't even
I did,
say that.
just because I was like, there's no way these things actually decompose. I'm not taking a chance with that.
It was plastic.
Yeah, but they said they decompose. I just was...
yes.
Also, Hunter has this thing for spotting trees and being like, what are you looking at? And he runs over and he beats the shit out of it and then walks away. Even if he can't get it to fall down, he walks away like, that's right. I told that tree what was up.
The trees won 90% of the time and made him a big bitch.
But that's because I would go after the biggest trees. You guys didn't even try.
Dude, I literally pushed every tree down that you did, except for when there was one time when you guys were separated from me.
Listen, I'm just disappointed in you guys. You didn't even have the balls to attack a tree like I did.
Look, there's also something else that everyone, if anybody listens to Hunter, I pick up on social quirks really quickly because I got really serious about getting rid of mine a long time ago, so I notice them in other people. Ian, what's Hunter's go-to word to start any sentence as like a comeback?
Oh, slam pig?
No, he just said it. No, he goes, listen.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Listen.
And it brings attention back on Hunter and then immediately makes him sound smart.
It also gives him a second to think. It also gives him a second to formulate what he's going to say. He's like, listen.
Even though he's just a big curly
not
head
at all, dude.
mullet,
That's just proper structure of a sentence. If you're having a conversation with a bunch of barbaric idiots,
listen, Hunter.
You need to say something to get their attention.
Listen, Hunter, I don't know what you want from me. That's another Hunter one. Look, I don't know what you want from me.
What do you need? What do you mean, why are we rushing? We got to cover 85 miles in a day and a half.
Dude, what are you talking about? We got just a list of Hunter sayings. Dude, Hunter, when I was driving up to Tahoe with you with one of your girlfriends, it was hilarious. It was like I was your girlfriend too, because everything you were saying, me and her would just look at each other and be like, you see, we were just like, see, he says it, he's doing it right now.
And he denies it. He'll deny it every time. Or he'll say, listen, and then explain why he does it.
I'm excited to see what he says after we stop talking here.
I've got nothing to say. I'm like, what do you guys have something over on me because you know what I usually say?
No, dude, it's not about attacking you. Jesus.
Okay, he's trying to deflate the situation, Beni, and like deflect.
Hunter, we're not attacking you. We're having fun. We are rejoicing in the fun that is Hoont. You don't have to defend yourself.
I don't feel like I need to defend myself.
Good.
I'm on top of a mountain in Malibu. That's the reason why I'm up here. By the time you guys get up here, you'll be so tired, it's going to be easy to beat the shit out of you.
Is that your plan for zombies?
So
damn right, dude.
So day one, it's raining, it's pouring, the old man is swimming. It's a great time. We're figuring out our backpacks. Ian is being trail dad, sending us the wrong direction. Esme, did she want us to not talk about that?
It's all over social media.
Okay, so we start off the trail. We were originally going to do the approach trail, which makes it so that you've like officially done every inch of the actual Appalachian Trail, but we end up vetoing that and starting at the normal starting point, which is like 8.5 miles. And but Ian and Hunter are both like powering off each other on like, let's just go, without actually knowing where the hell the trail is. And so instead we walk maybe a half mile south in the wrong direction. And so Esme thought that we would be going a different direction. And so she went to this trail, took the biggest dookie you've ever seen on the trail. Like she doesn't even leave the trail. It's just this swirly gumdrop with some toilet paper, like whipped cream on top.
Triple stacked soft serve ice cream.
With the whipped cream on top. It's the toilet paper. It's like she made it perfectly. And so then we start hiking in that direction, and she's just like quietly hoping no one will notice. And then we all immediately see it because it's maybe an inch next to the trail. And we're all like, Esme, oh my God, is that your crap? And then we meet some hikers and they see it too. And then they come across, was it Taylor peeing in the middle of the parking lot?
Yes.
So within like 2 minutes, they see that our group has not only shit on the trail, but one of them is peeing in the middle of the parking lot.
Literally on the trail. So for those of you who hike and stuff, normally you like go a ways off the trail. It was on the edge of the trail. And the toilet paper, had she not put it on top, the toilet paper was like a little white flag saying, hey, look at me.
Dude, even my dog, when we go trail running, knows he will not poo on the trail. He'll go like 20 feet off, like hide behind a tree and then poo and then kick the dirt over it and he'll run away. He's got good trail etiquette. But
needless to say, we're starting off on a really good foot.
Oh yeah. Going the wrong way, giant dookies, and peeing in the middle of the parking lot. Anyway, so we finally get on the right track, and it's soaking wet. I think that was one of my favorite days because the temperature wasn't cold; it was just rainy. So like, yeah, we were wet, but it wasn't miserable for me, anyways.
Well, poor Taylor. So Taylor, as Hunter mentioned earlier, had about 3 days to organize for this trip.
Yep.
He shows up with no food because Hunter had said, hey, we'll have all the food you need. As well as he didn't have a backpack rain cover. So the first day, his pack probably gained 15 to 20 pounds of just sheer water weight. Also soaking, which we later had to spit roast on the fire.
Yep, I remember that. That was brutal.
Did Hunter just leave?
Yeah, he's probably getting something in his room.
I'm just getting water, dude.
Yep.
The only thing I'm struggling with right now, and I'm glad that you guys talked about poop for that long because I just needed to take a break. Told that poop story too many times. It's disgusting. Dude, my whole skin, like every inch of my body is shedding right now after that hike.
The only place that happened to me was like my nose, and I think that's because we were wiping it so much from like all the snot. But
dude, I can feel my skin. It feels like a leathery bag.
You're like a snake, man. You're shedding your skin for the new year.
That's right. It's 2020.
Yeah. Keep on hitting like philosophical ideas of why my skin's peeling off my body.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. The amount of people I've been talking to that have been having things that don't completely make sense between like the last 7 days, like the transition from 19 to 20, it's just ridiculous. And they're not even necessarily huge things. It's things like what you just said, like all of a sudden you feel like your entire skin is just like shedding off. I had a car wreck that made absolutely no sense that I walk away from it. And not only did I walk away from it, I had no scratches or anything. And there's just like my sister's divorce just ended like yesterday out of nowhere when it was supposed to keep going for a long time. I mean, just all kinds of little things. So I think I don't know how, I don't think you can quantify it necessarily, but I think there's definitely something to the whole energy. I don't know if it's astrology or whatever the time numerology or whatever is with the calendar. I think there's something to all of that. I don't know how much stock I put in it because I don't understand it. But, you know.
Yeah, there's too much to think about in that weird way.
Yeah.
Hippy dippy shit.
Hippy dippy shit.
Just go stare at the stars, Benny. That'll kind of put it in perspective that it all really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what's weird? I don't know if it's probably come across as rude, but I'll say it anyways. I'm just struggling to find like an intelligent next level person to talk to these days. I felt like I was in a position in my life probably between the age of like 25 and like 28, maybe 27. I found a lot of people who were very instrumental in my growth and like, you know, very intelligent and very eye-opening and kind of shifted my mindset towards what I was doing. Like I was just hanging out with Bobby yesterday and he's still an amazing person. It's just like we did what we did while we had it. He was the kind of person who shifted my mindset from, you know, lifting heavy, drinking hard, and trying to bang everything that walked towards like, hey, Hunter, like you can't just fight the whole world all the time. Like you need to learn how to use your energy like instrumentally towards your growth and your success. And then the rest of the time when you're not doing that, you need to rest and you need to recoup and you need to think intelligently rather than just act, because that's what animals do. It's like they fuck, they fight, and they eat. Yeah. And that's it. And so like he was, and I learned that. And now, like, I think just because I've made the transition into like a different part of who I am, still the same person, still like to do the same things, just trying to kind of structure my thought process and my daily activities in a different frame of mind. I haven't found that yet. So like, I catch myself, usually I like to make phone calls and talk to my friends a lot. I'm just kind of stuck in this, like, almost like in a fishbowl, like the rest of the world's outside of me and I'm stuck in my own little piece and I'm just thinking in there, and I haven't been able to really reach out or connect with people the way I was for a while.
Well, I think that's how, I don't know about everybody, but I've noticed a similar circle that repeats over and over is people come into your life for, I forget the quote, it's like for a time, a purpose, or a season. And I think that relates directly to the place that you currently are. So back then you were finding tons of people that were just enough of a change from where you currently were to help you grow out of that. And now you're in a different place. So now you're going to have to attract either circumstances or people that pull you out of that. So I wouldn't necessarily look for the same type of connection and growth from the same people in your circle, because I'm not going to say you've surpassed them like it's a competition thing, but like you've grown from this person in the way that the current person you were could grow. And like people have been circulating back into my life oddly for the past like few weeks that I haven't talked to in a long time, that used to be big deal, like really close. I was really close with them and they were big deals for me. And then I see them again now and I'm like, you are no longer, you're like, how did I ever think that you were a super deep, whatever. And it's not that they got any less deep or intellectual, whatever. It's just, I've moved to where that's no longer, that's like my previous step to where it's like, oh yeah, no, I get that already. How are you still stuck in that?
Yeah.
And like that girl you were telling me you met on the trail, just the way you were describing it when I was driving back, for some reason I felt good about it. That doesn't necessarily mean she's going to become like your princess or something, but just
what
like,
girl?
Yeah, that redhead you met that almost ran you over with her bike.
Yeah, it was just a very interesting and kind connection.
Yeah, and so I would just like pay attention to the people that are coming into your life or the circumstances over the next, I don't know, few weeks, couple months, because every time you feel like you're feeling, I mean, at least from my own experience, where you feel like everything around you has kind of reached this plateau where it's like everything feels slightly, not beneath me, but you know what I mean? Then like very quickly over the next couple months, you're going to start attracting things or people in your life that are the next level for you. I think that's how mine's been.
I mean, also Hunter, you've been in a very, I wouldn't say tight closed area, but like your circle has resolved around fitness industry, and you may have been like, you've met a ton of people in that environment. And in order to find maybe a next step of individuals who are different or stimulating in a different way, it might take going outside that industry.
It's true.
The next circle.
It's very true. Got a lot to think about, boys. Got a lot to think about.
You got a nice chair for it.
Actually, it's all fucked up.
I was thinking about this earlier, actually, what you were just talking about, Ian. One of the reasons I love Bumble and Hinge is because obviously I like meeting new pretty girls, but you meet people that have absolutely nothing to do with your life. Like, it's so easy for me to like meet a girl from obstacle course racing or the fitness realm or something like that, or the promo industry that I work in. But I've been in both of those for a very, very long time. So they all kind of have something in common. Whereas with Hinge, I might meet somebody who's a lawyer who's never been to the gym in their life, or I meet, somebody totally random. And it's honestly, it's getting boring to meet people that I have a ton of things in common with. Like, I met this girl, she has her own podcast. It's like a personal development podcast. It's even bigger than this one. And yeah, we had really good conversations, but there was no fire or real interest. Like, we had a lot in common, but almost the fact that we had a lot in common was like boring to me. I was like, yeah, okay, I know. I talk about this stuff all the time. I get it. So I don't know. I think I get stuck in the cliche of things. So I hate that I was about to say, I think 2020 for me is about blah, 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 blah. It drives me freaking nuts. Which
just don't even think about, or like, don't think on that timeline. Just think about your life. Like, think about your life stages, or moving through different periods, or just think day to day. Like, maybe today I want to do this, or maybe tomorrow I want to try something new or continue it. Like, maybe you have a routine, or like you have overarching goals. I think putting it on the scale of these arbitrary weeks and months and years, yes, it is kind of astronomical in how long it takes for us to revolve around a ball of fire. But in terms of being a conscious being, there's no need to confine yourself to that.
Yeah, no, totally. That's how I always operate. The only reason it keeps popping into my mind now is because so much just happens to be happening right around a time that everyone says means something, which normally I'm basically anti-holiday and anti basically anything that doesn't hold any meaning for me. Like, I can't stand whatever. We don't need a lot.
Okay, I want to dive into this for a sec, because this is something I noticed on the trip. We all had our trail names, and just to kind of bring it back to the Appalachian Trail. Hunter, what's your trail name before you leave?
Hugs and Kisses.
Hugs and Kisses was Hunter's. I was Dad Who Talks a Lot. And then Beni, he kind of missed it the first time around, but we came back and he kind of just half-assed it. And I don't even know, 2-stack jack or something like that.
I don't know what I said.
He just made something on the spot. But it was because he didn't put any value into it personally. And in order to get the most out of the situation, you have to actually invest something into it and believe in it and be receptive to it. Whereas Beni just sat back and didn't actually actively engage in it. Like, that may have not been his mindset at the time. He is tired and some other things happening, but he decided to take himself out of it and just be almost like negative energy is a very broad term, but be negative in the situation. Whereas if he have actively chose to be positive, Beni could have had like a rad trail name. Like, if we gave you the opportunity right now and you actively put yourself in a positive mindset, what would be your trail name?
The reason you saw me and you kind of felt that negative energy was because I don't know what it was, the crossfade that I had going on, or I don't know what it was, but I just kept hitting a wall, and it's happening right now. Like, you asked me my New Year's resolution, things like that. Like, when we were going around the fire and everybody was saying these like deep things that are totally exactly the landscape that I love to live in, that emotional, like deep, meaningful, like actually meaningful conversations rather than just talking about like what company's doing this. I was just hitting a wall. Like, I could not think. And I was, dude, trust me, I was not just giving up. I was actively trying to fight it. It was frustrating the hell out of me. So I still don't have an answer. Like, every time I go there, I just hit a freaking wall.
Well, maybe it'll just flow into you at one point.
That might also be actually the answer. There is that 2020 or whatever this whole thing is for me right now. This time frame is I've spent years and years and years intentionally investing and trying to turn the wheel and make things happen. Maybe this time frame for me right now is more about operating from places that organically bring value, and then I invest when I see and feel the value rather than trying to like manufacture it.
That's so funny. I literally just wrote down on my piece of paper, because you guys have been talking and I've been on a totally different thought.
Good to know.
Stay involved, Hunter.
Well, no, I started to think, and I was like, man, I got to get these thoughts. I got to write out these thoughts so that I can really capture them. because we're having these conversations, and if you have a good conversation and you don't stop and think about what's going on rather than just keep on rambling, then, you know, that's the difference between you and a buffoon.
I'm taking notes right now too.
Yeah. So I said, allow people to come into your life, stop asking for it. So what you were just talking about is actually letting things organically happen rather than asking for it. So like, you know, whether it be like going to the bar and asking a girl for her number and asking her to hang out, like, you know, that's just a simple way of looking at it. Like that's, you'd be like, oh, come hang out with me, and, you know, trying to create a connection where it should just be. Or, you know, the fact that, you know, we're all racing and I'm thinking about all the things I want to do this year. And I'm like, what do I want to do? Like I have a couple agendas that I really want to do, but rather than every single year, I literally grab things and I strangle them to death. Like that's how I conquer them. I'm like, that's what I want right now. and like, that's how I compete. So I think for the first time ever in my life, I'm just going to literally be and then let things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
like that.
I know that sounds hippie-ish, but I'm still going to do exactly what I want to do this year. I'm still going to compete heavily, but maybe have this kind of underlying theme while it's all going on.
For you, for knowing you, Hunter, that might be like the most challenging thing you ever try and do, just because of your motivation and how big of a drive you have. I think it's phenomenal. I think you should absolutely do that. I think it's just going to be, I think it's a good challenge for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hunter's getting a call right now, I assume.
No, I think my battery is just going to 20%.
That's weird.
My eyes are so fried from the sun out here.
Dude, that totally makes me think about, I learned this specific dynamic a long time ago where you know, like sometimes you're talking and then the word or whatever you're looking for it leaves your head, and then you sit there and you fight and you try and remember it and you try and remember it and you can't, and then as soon as you give up and you forget about trying to remember it, it comes back. That to me is indicative of an energetic flow and like the give and take of how you show up in your life, and how physical circumstances will manifest off of your internal energetic matching to your outsides. And with the podcast specifically, the past like 6 months, I've been like fighting every single episode, like to do it. Usually I've always loved doing these. But then the past 6 months I've been like, okay, yeah, we're asking the same questions. I've just basically gotten super bored with it. And it's been this unpleasant energy in my life. And then recently I just said, you know what? I'm not going to record a single podcast that I don't really want to do. And that's actually given me some stress because I'm having to turn off the, you know, like he was dealing with on the trail. Even though he acknowledged it was about relaxing, he still had so much momentum of go, 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 go. And so I'm having to turn off the way I've been viewing and acting on the podcast and just interview and have conversations like this that I actually want to have. And I think the quicker I can get to where I'm just naturally, organically going, I can't stand the expression because it's been used so many times, but go with the flow of things that actually come up organically. If I can actually get there again, then it produces fantastic content. Like one of the reasons I love Joe Rogan's podcast is because he's so excited and curious about every guest he has on there. And he wouldn't be if he didn't actually want to be doing that. So I'm trying to apply that to the same thing in my life. And it's making me look at some really hard things. Like for the past, not nearly as long as Hunter, and I think you either, Ian, I've only been in this sport actively for like 3.5 years. But for those 3.5 years, it's the first time in my life where I've had something that I wrangled the way Hunter wrangles things, where it's just all encompassing. It's everything I want to do. And now I'm getting to the point to where like people talk to me about like, somebody just asked me if I was going to be doing the stadium series this year. And I said yes as default. And then as I typed yes, I was like, yes, I guess I will be doing the freaking stadium series. And I don't get me wrong, when I do the races, I have a great time. But there's so much momentum around the way I view how I have to perform at these and the way the year goes and stuff. But when I think about the year, if I didn't have any of that and I think about the stuff I want to do, all I think about is doing more of what we just did. Like I want to go whitewater rafting. I want to go mountain biking in this place. I want to go bungee jumping. I want to just do all kinds of really fun, crazy shit in nature. And that's what I actually want to do with my year.
You know what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to set the world record for kiteboarding long distance.
Is that true?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I've been wanting to do it for years, and it's not an athletic endeavor. It's like a physical feat of like just insanity, because it's something that's unpredictable, it's uncontrollable, which I'm not great at. I always like to have a command and control things, but then it's like you have to have the stars aligned, and two, you have to have the physical capability and the technique to handle it. And I think it's 210 miles. And I realized that, and I was like, I did the research on the guy who had done it. And he's like in his 50s, late 40s or 50s. And he, he's done ultra marathons, like 50Ks and 50 milers. And he kiteboards, but he's like an old guy. Like, he's not crushing these things. So I'm like, if
he's got old man strength.
Yeah, right. My young man strength will turn his bones into frickin' dust.
You gonna pee his arm off?
Yeah. So I realized, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? And Beni and I have talked about moving to Utah back again in like May or June. I think I'm just gonna kiteboard I'm gonna get the lessons, and I'm gonna kiteboard every single week for a couple times a week.
Where are you gonna kiteboard?
Malibu.
Where?
I'm gonna kiteboard here in Malibu.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm gonna try to set the record before I go out there. I want to do it maybe in July.
Holy crap, dude. Hey, I love how you set a world record goal, and then you're like, I'm gonna take care of it in the next few months.
Well, I just think, dude, I'm in such beastly shape right now. I haven't been this strong in my entire life, and I've done like 2 ultra marathon distances in the past month. And before, like when I did stuff like this, when I was doing Boundless, it kicked my ass. And now I'm actually pretty adapted to it without even really training for it. So I'm like, if I put my mind to it, like my goal is to win High Rocks World Championship, set the world record, and then I'm probably just going to get in beastly shape and take down a couple other things that come up at the right time. But I think that world record would be like just a cherry on top.
You know, Hoot, I'm going to make a prediction right now. You'll do what you want, what you are planning to achieve with High Rocks and DecaFit. But I think you're going to find pretty quick that you don't actually give a shit about either of those, that your motivations for those are stuck in 2019, Hunter, and they're not so much 2020.
Beni, stop saying year-based shit.
Are you talking about the races?
Yeah, like you get fired up because you love crushing people and stuff like that. But but everything we were just talking about this current stage in your life, whatever, it's just easier to say the year, Ian.
Yeah, you just phrased it better though. This current stage in your life is way better than
this current stage in your life seems more driven about what you organically want to do with just Hoonter. This seems all driven back from the OCR world of I'm gonna crush Kent and I'm gonna do this and that. Which is
I just was about to say, dude, I'm gonna pulverize Kent.
So Hunter, what happens if they set the world record in Chicago?
I mean, I don't really care. It would annoy me just because Kent's the kind of person, he's a great athlete, but as soon as he gets one win, he thinks that he's like climbed Mount Olympus and now he's the king of the castle. So, and that's the same way Isaiah acts. And those guys have been my primary competition in that, like this similar distance for the past 5 years, maybe even longer. And I'm going to have to just deal with hearing about that all the time. But in reality, like, I don't have a doubt in my mind. I showed up in 75% shape in Chicago and beat the next closest person by 4 minutes, and I walked in. So literally just it's going to take a little bit of focus. It's going to take a little bit of patience, not caring about what other people are doing and caring about the training that I'm putting in to do what I want to do. And then in Germany, I think I'll beat probably the next closest person by 3 minutes.
So Berlin is hashtag certified fresh legs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
I'm going to probably come in. Robert Killian's probably going to hit me up and say, listen, pal, you just been sitting on your, you're just sitting in your nice lawn chair and you haven't been training hard like the rest of us, fresh legs guy.
Hunter showed up fresh after winning the kite surfing world championships.
That's going to be cool, dude. It's going to be super fun. Just the beginning of the year, I think just doing this stuff just to kind of get the legs and the body moving again, it's good to have intentions like winning High Rocks World Championships and let that kind of be the first log on the fire. And then, after that, it's your goal to tend the fire and keep on putting on other logs that are goals. So I
think it's even more mental than physical. I mean, physical is kind of the secondary thing. You got to have stuff you're excited about. And it's nearly impossible to train well and like train hard if you're not excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. Hunter, do you have green shoes?
On right now?
No, like, do you own a pair of green shoes that you would race in?
I've raced in green shoes before.
Because after our
Where are you going with this, Benny?
do you remember what I told you I saw in your feet when we were running up the mountain to go to the sunset?
Oh yeah.
If you race, I'm telling you right now, Hunter, if you race in green shoes, every race you race this year, you will smash the competition. You'll be harnessing your natural hunter energy.
This is Hunter's green feet.
Green's my favorite color, dude. Green and white.
Look good, feel good. I'm telling you, man. Green shoes, that's where it's at.
Yeah, my hockey coach used to say that. He made us wear dress shirts that never fit.
Oh,
He's like,
no,
look good, feel good,
that.
play good.
That's
and then he made us
stupid.
wear dress shirts, and I was like, this is dumb. I feel like an idiot.
Yeah, this isn't other people think you look good, feel good. It's I think I look good, therefore I feel good, and I don't want to wear this fucking shirt.
Yeah. But we were really good at hockey, so whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've got so many good outfits in my closet. I can't wait until I have a reason to put them on.
My old friend used to ask me all the time when I was living with you. They're like, I just don't. Did Hunter get locked out?
No, I'm good.
Oh,
Does he lock himself out of his house all the time?
No, is that the door that broke, Hunter, that you fixed?
No, luckily it's not.
Okay, I thought that's why you jumped up, like it was about to slam closed or something. But this girl always used to be like, Hunter's just, he's too like macho, like he's too much in the like he puts on a persona online. I'm like, no, that is 100% Hunter. He's always wearing just ridiculous outfits because he likes to wear ridiculous outfits. He's always shouting, and that's just Hunter.
I mean, also everyone sees Hunter as the shouting person who's like super aggressive, but then you get in he's sitting on his porch just staring at the sunrise, having the like most philosophical conversation imaginable with his curly haired mullet. And that is all encapsulating of Hunter. It's not like he's one or the other. No, Hunter does all that shit. I mean, in this conversation, you talked about Hunter trying to let people organically come into his life more and how he wants to beat the shit out of Kent in High Rocks.
Those are both things that I want.
In the same breath.
Yeah. What percentage of time in conversations that you have, especially podcasts, do you think is spent just like jacking you off?
Oh God, I just did it there. I've always
said it. Oh, dude, it's so easy.
I'm sorry because I mean he's a very dominating personality. Yeah. I'm also a very large personality. You are as well, Benny. The majority of my friends have ADHD and are like crazy extroverts. Hunter just happens to be the most ADHD crazy person.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just interesting.
Yeah, and it's something you and I talked on the trail.
You should be able to share the words that you want about the people you're with.
Oh, this is just him like now self-jacking off at this point.
No.
Hunter, we have complimented you like 8 times in this conversation. You've said one compliment to Benny and I.
That's all I need to do. That's all I need to do. It's up to you guys how much you want to share. I said it and I meant it. And it should sit there, you know what I mean?
This was literally just meant to acknowledge something that is amazing, not necessarily to cast aspersion on anybody. Are
you complimenting Hunter's ability to get compliments?
Dude, I really am. No, this is more Hunter masturbation here. Is that anytime? I mean, it was happened with Matt B. Davis. I told Tanner and Taylor this was going to happen. That if Matt came to dinner with us, that he was just going to be jacking Hunter off the entire time. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. We all do it because Hunter's he's one of the most exceptional people that you'll ever meet. And so to me, it's a sign of a lot of different things. If you can sit there and just openly compliment and talk about how awesome somebody is and not have it be like a bad reflection on yourself. But yeah, I was just wondering from Hunter's point of view, are you consciously aware of that all the time? And like, how do you think about it?
Of course he is. He feeds his fucking ego every second of the day.
No, I don't think it should feed my ego.
I'm kidding. Honestly, I was being facetious, Hunter.
I was recently dating a girl who was also like the biggest woman in the room. And I would listen to people talk about her. And it was like the first time I had to acknowledge somebody else kind of getting that similar kind of attention. And I listened to it, and then I realized that similar things would happen to me. And it's nice and it's empowering to have people constantly say that kind of stuff to you. But you have to be a person who's able to like hear it, feel it, and let it go out the other side. And just because if you allow yourself to just sit there and be like, yeah, I'm the greatest. Yeah, like, I don't really like hearing it that much because it kind of makes me feel a little bit embarrassed. Because I don't really think anything that I did this year was like that amazing, even though I had to sit down just recently and write down all the amazing things that I did just to make sure that I allow myself to breathe and enjoy it. But I don't know, man, like, it's just good surrounding yourself with people that are excited to be around you. It's like, I don't want to have to fish for compliments. I want to be around people that compliment my lifestyle and compliment who I am, because you are a good person. And if you're ever spending time with people who don't compliment you and compliment your lifestyle, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like, I just had a talk with one of my best friends, and it's really sad because he and I are just on two different wavelengths, and we used to be so entirely close, and now we've made a shift and we're not those same people anymore. He's the kind of person who will, you should always have people that test you and make sure that you're like, they're a sounding board. And if you say something stupid and they're like, hey, like, that's not a great idea and that's not who you are, or maybe you should rethink that, that's good. But somebody who tries to intentionally like challenge you or put you down just because they can, like, those people you shouldn't have around you, and you don't need to have them around you. It's just like, you know, keep that shit out of your life. And I intentionally brought every single one of the people on the trip for the hike just recently, not because they were people that were gonna, like, you know, verbally jack me off over the time. I brought those people out there because they're friends that I trust and I could say things to, and if I said something to them, they'd call me out, and then they'd also at the same time pat me on the back and still let me know that I was a great guy. So this whole conversation, we've been talking shit to each other, but also saying nice things about each other. Like, you know, since your car crash, Beni, I've called you 3 times to make sure that you're okay. Like, that's my version of complimenting you, that somebody who cares about you enough to let you know that I'm still concerned about the fact that you had a hard accident, and I hope that you're okay. And, you know, I've called Ian several times, and Ian went through some rough times not too long ago, and I was just meant to make sure I call. And I don't have to tell you you're a great person. I just let you know through my words and my actions of being present in your life that that's my version of complimenting.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So some people just handle it differently.
Yeah. And can I say something to that?
Yeah, go for it.
I understand that, because I mean, we've known each other for a while, and you've been there for the hardest time of my life and definitely shown your support. And that's like, and I understand that, but a lot of people in the world don't. That's not how they operate. And they're even like small compliments, like Beni and I go back to the frame of reference of like verbally jacking you off. But we're giving like all of these small compliments, and that's what people look for in life. And you're more of a big overt gesture kind of person. Like at the end of the trip, I think everyone remembers when you gave them a hug and you looked them in the eye and said, I really appreciate you and thank you for coming on this trip. Like, I'm happy you were here with me. And those are very nice, but even adding in small comments or compliments that are like, just show that you're paying attention, can go a long way as well. So I don't know if that's something that I think could add more benefit. That's something I try and do, is if I see something that I appreciate about a person, even if it's just a little thing, or like I like a woman's hair, or someone has sweet shoes, even just those tiny things, I let them know. I'm like, oh, I think you have really sweet shoes. Sometimes that makes their day, because a lot of people have shitty days, day in and day out. They have crappy jobs, life situations not always great. So those small things to individuals that aren't as close to you as possible can really bring a person's life to that next level, even though to you, it's like just a small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You need to get better at that. That was the other thing that happened in my relationship, is I thought that this is becoming a relationship podcast. Sometimes I think that just existing in someone's life is enough. And that's one thing that I think is I probably need to get better at with significant others, because it's different with men. Like, men just are men. Like if I'm standing next to you and I put steak on the table, like that's my version of showing love.
Oh, dude, if you do that, I will be in love with you.
Exactly. And that's as simple as it is. A woman's a different thing. They need flour, like, you know, they're a flower. They need water.
Yeah, not to throw a wrench in what you're saying, but dude, everyone's got different love languages. Like,
Yeah, I totally get that.
So Benny, a flower is a different, like we'll say a plant, and plants need different things like nutrients, water, but those nutrients and water can be different things. So
Yes.
Stacy, her what she needs from me is to listen to her and be actively engaged in her life. And when she comes home and have a hard day, she lets me know. But we've learned that it's not my job to fix her problems. It's my job to be there and support her. There are other relationships where you do need to fix problems or they want that help. But I agree with Hunter. Like it's different for each relationship, and figuring out what your other partner wants or is looking for is how you make something grow into a beautiful flower.
Yeah, for sure.
So funny. Like I'll give you the example of my parents. Like I know the Patriots lost yesterday, so I called my dad and I just talked with him about the Patriots, even though I don't really care that much about the Patriots, because I know that it made my dad feel better being able to talk with somebody about it. You're like, yeah, they're out, but there's another year coming up. Trust me. Like Brady, Belichick, they're ready. And I'm like, that's my version of showing love to my father. And I call my dad every single day, but you know, just to check in on him. And my mom, I could call my mom and I just make sure that I ask her how my grandparents are doing, because that bothers her, because they're getting old and they're having a tough time. And then the other thing I do is I just make sure to talk with her a little bit about real estate, because she's a real estate agent and she likes to be able to kind of like verbally digest what's going on with somebody else other than just the people she works with. So like two different forms of love.
Yeah.
You just need to find like, you know, what everybody's love note is.
Yeah, my dude, that's been a really tough thing for me
that.
lately, because my mom has always been like the most competent, just put together and can handle anything person my entire life. I mean, 6 kids. She had all 6 of us in-house, not at the hospital, dealing with like a suicidal, crazy husband and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then, you know, 6 insane kids. And as she's been getting older, this has been a really tough thing. The past like 3 years, she started exhibiting things that older people start to exhibit. Like she can't keep up in conversations. She can't hear as well. She forgets things that are very simple, and it just things that in general are taking her overall life competency and ability to handle things down. And that has been a super difficult thing for me, because she has always been a disproportionate amount giver to her, you know, a very typical mom role who just pours out way more than she gets back. And since a young age, me and all my siblings have always been aware of how amazing our parents were and how hard they worked despite where they were coming from and stuff. But it's getting to where the amount that I'm having to put back into it is so different than what it's ever been, to where it's almost like, I don't know, it's a real strain on exhibiting, like actually having to really intentionally put effort out to make sure she knows that I appreciate her and I love her and that she's my best friend and all this stuff.
How old is she?
She just turned 60. So she's not old, but little things that you would list as things that happen as you get older are starting to exhibit. And I had to have a talk with some of my siblings, because her and I were having a big, just probably one of the hardest fights in our relationship we've ever had, where I was treating her 100% as like almost like a hunter figure, like you are completely capable of doing anything you want. Anything that happens to you is your fault if you don't listen to that. And I'm having to tone that down and realize that it's okay for some people to be at different stages in their life where that's not what they can fully embody anymore. And that was a big, hard one for me to get past. But I mean, it's definitely made our relationship stronger. That's for sure.
Yeah. I have a different scenario, but a similar thing with my mother, where I'm having to realize what she needs. Like since my dad passed and that whole incident, she's just been like lost in life and doesn't know what to do. and she has her own problems. She's very much a giver as well, but her mom will call her all the time and just rant about her life to my grandmother, to my mom. And then my mom calls me and does a very similar thing, but it's not like she's not looking for me to solve her problems. She literally just wants to tell me about her life and hear about my life. And it's rare that I get a word in and tell her about my life, but it's what she needs right now. And it honestly, she sees therapists and she goes to all this other stuff just because the incident that happened to us is not super easy to process. Like, I just bury it in a box and put it away right now. Very healthy. I'm sure it'll come ruin my life at some point. But that's like her best therapy, is just talking into the phone at me. And I do all sorts of things. Like, I do the dishes, I'll make dinner, and then I just nod and say, uh-huh. And I'm listening, but it does, like, I've tried to have engaging conversations to where, and move beyond these things, but it actually backfires and it makes her super upset. So I'm just being patient and letting her do her thing.
Dude, and that's a tough thing to do when somebody you care about is talking and you're actively listening and you feel like you could add value in a way, and you have to cut it off, and it's like, ugh, it's really hard.
I've over the past few months, that's really been something I'm moving forward with. And I'm such a very active, engaging person. Like, I was always the guy, if I hear a problem, it's my job to fix it and make it better for that person.
Yeah.
But that's not always what people want, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But
yeah, dude, Ian, I was glad you came, because when Hunter told me you were coming, you know, before this, you know, week that we kind of spent together, I knew of you. We hadn't really spent much time together. Like, I remember that interview that Hunter and I did totally forcibly in Tahoe, chatting.
Oh, dude, you guys dragged me to the Beat Elite house. Literally, like, Ian, you pestered me for hours and hours to come over.
Dude, and then we have this interview, and the whole time I felt like I was grasping at air of what the hell to talk about, because I didn't really know you. And
I'll talk about anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now it'd be a lot easier, but
to be honest, Beni, I always thought you were kind of dumb, because I didn't know you. Like, I just had this perception of you. I don't think that anymore. I thought you were just this goofy kid who kind of like bumbled through life and didn't really have anything of value to necessarily add. And I don't think that way anymore, by the way. This trip was very good. And I thought you were like overtly annoying, because I'd never had an actual interaction with you. And this is not like a diss on your character. It's mostly just lack of information and me being a judgmental dick.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because
don't talk about Sweet Ben that way.
Did he say don't talk about Sweet Ben like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that, because that's one specific thing I've had to deal with for a long time, is joviality is my default nature. And so what comes with that, that's a very childlike attribute. And so people then take the brain shortcut of applying a lot of other childlike attributes of lack of wisdom and knowledge and experience and intelligence and value and stuff like that. And, you know, that's something I deal with. I'm not going to let it's been very tempting to let it change my persona and kind of turn me into a little bit less of a goofball, but I'm never happy when I do that. So, yeah, I get that all the time, and I see it all the time at the beginning of races, when I'm talking with people, or when I'm in a conversation or in a group that is conversing and I'm completely ignored. So I'm totally aware of it, but I'm not going to let it fuel my my decisions about how I'm going to interact with people, even though, yes, I'm very aware most people think I'm just an idiot.
That's okay. I play dumb because it makes life easier. Guys, I know we're getting really deep, but I got to go.
All right, Hunter, end it with just saying one of, I know there's a lot, but just one memory that stood out a lot to you from the trip.
By far the best memory was being on top of that mountain for sunset. That was insane. Probably the best sunset I've ever seen in my life, and it made me realize that all the decisions and directions that I was going in at this time were the right decisions and directions. So I just got up there and I was like, I have absolute freedom.
Nice. Ian.
Mine was when I almost blew off my hand with the jet boil.
Just a calm moment in the morning, and then
yeah. So we brought a jet boil, and the fuel tank didn't work with it. I thought there was a standard valve for that, but it turns out there's not. And I tried to make it work, and I got it lit, and then it lit the entire. Then the gas just started coming out of the jet foil top, or the gas can top, and it was essentially bomb in my hand, and my hand was on fire, and I could have just thrown it and exploded the jet foil.
No, you were a man. You didn't let go.
I held on and I unscrewed the top, and it didn't turn into an explosive. So that was pretty, and that was me trying to get friggin' hot water for people for coffee in the morning.
Major props to you, dude, because I 100% would have dropped that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Mine would also happen. Actually, I don't know if it's specifically the sunset. It was more the run up top with Hunter to the sunset, because I knew the sunset would be worth it when we got there. But the thing that made me decide to do it was, or no, the thing that made me not want to do it was I knew we had to run back up the mountain. We had just come down. And so the sunset makes sense. It'd be amazing. But like, it was the run back up there when we had certain things circulating in our system that was just, it made it like a freaking magical moment running. That's probably the fastest I've ever run up a mountain. So that would be it. Seeing green orbs of energy coming out of the bottom of Hunter's feet and just giggling like little girls while we're sprinting up this mountain. It was a good time. All right, ladies and gents, Hunter is checked out. Ian, thanks for coming on, dude.
I cleaned my house while I was doing this. This is great.
Nice. So you also played with what?
We've been on the podcast for almost 2 hours. I just realized I have people to meet in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're going surfing. All right, guys. Yay for this time in our lives, and let's have a good.
It's 2020.
All right, Hunter, have fun surfing. Ian, have fun playing with your pooch.
I gotta do work, dude. Weekends are my work weekends.
Oh, that's fun.
All right, boys. See ya.
Bye, Hunter.
Bye.
Bye, Hoont.
Bye,
Right.
Beni.
Hoont's gone. Okay. Bye, Ian.
Bye, Beni. I don't think you're an idiot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hurts.
Visit obstacledominator.com for show notes, training, and racing resources.